So if we run the nmap scan again on our subnet, notice that this time, instead of having one host online, we have two hosts up. Our 1.1 is us, and our 103 is the matrix machine. This is where you're basically free to go figure out how to get root access and read the flag. I've already done that, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but I want to give you at least a little bit of a walkthrough so that you can start following the white rabbit. This is the response from our web server on the matrix machine. Follow the white rabbit. Welcome to the real world, Neo. I'm glad you're here. Now, you don't know what you're looking for, right? You're just looking for anything that might stand out to you. And the thing that stood out to me when I came here was there's this random string here. What's up, Code Crew? In this video, we are going to dive deep into the Matrix to see whether our hacking skills will deem us as the chosen one in this simulation that we call cybersecurity. Now, if you've seen the movie The Matrix, you know that Neo was a renowned hacker peddling illegal software and eventually went on to dodge bullets and save the world. It was pretty much this movie that made me decide that I too wanted to become a computer hacker, but I didn't want to risk being taken into custody by agents and having to eat sloppy oatmeal for the rest of my life. So I came to VulnHub instead. Now, VulnHub is a resource that was brought to my attention from one of the members in our Discord. Link is in the description if you would like to join us there. And essentially, it's a place where you can download VMs that are meant to be hacked. They're meant to be exploited. They are vulnerable by design. Now, a VM is a virtual machine that is like a little computer inside of your main computer, except it's been isolated in processes, and if you configure it properly, you can also isolate it on a network level. So let's go ahead and dive in. Over here on the search bar, we're going to go ahead and type in Matrix. There's actually 3 different options that we can download that have been uploaded from AJ Verma. Shout out to AJ for uploading this VM. And here you can see that the difficulty of this machine is intermediate. Your goal is to gain root access and to read the flag. Now notice that this machine is set to have an IP address automatically assigned, but you're going to see here pretty soon that we're going to isolate this machine so well that there won't be a DHCP server to assign an IP address to the machine. This is a problem because we're going to need an IP address in order to attack it and communicate with it. But I'm going to walk you through how to do all that, so just stick around, okay? So we're going to go ahead and download this VM by clicking this link here. I'm going to click save, and I'll put this on my desktop. I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it VulnHub. Now, before you extract it, you want to make sure that this download is legitimate. So let's go back into our VulnHub page, and we see here there are 2 hashes that we can compare on our zip file. So let's go ahead and pop open a PowerShell. Let me CD into our desktop, VulnHub, and we're going to get a file hash on our machine matrix.zip with an algorithm MD5. And here we see a matching hash 9ECF, 9ECF, 06A9, 06A9. Let's go ahead and do that same thing, but with a SHA-1 now. And there we see a 1A9E, 1A9E, E711, E711. Okay, so we have a legitimate machine matrix zip folder. Okay, so now that we know we have a legitimate download, we can go ahead, right click and extract all. Okay, so we're going to be running these machines in VMware Workstation Pro. If you need guidance on how to install that, you can go watch this video here. Okay, so now that that's extracted, we're going to go ahead and download also our attacker machine. So you're going to come here to kali.org, come to download, click virtual machines, and make sure to select the VMware download as we're going to be using VMware for this video. Be sure to check the sum the same way I showed you before, extract it, and then you're going to end up with the folder here on your desktop. There's multiple files inside, but you don't need to worry about those, okay? So we have 2 folders now, right? We have our VulnHub folder with our Matrix machine, and we have our Kali machine folder as well. Let's go ahead and pop open VMware Workstation Pro. Click Open a Virtual Machine. We're going to select from our Kali folder the one option that's available. Now, before you run that machine, make sure you edit the virtual machine settings. We're going to be adding a network adapter. So I just deleted it so I can start fresh with you, right? And I'm going to add network adapter and put this to NAT. We're going to need NAT so that we can download our DHCP service, okay? So we'll click OK on that. Let's go ahead and power on the machine. Okay, we're going to go ahead and log in with Kali. And let's go ahead and pop open a terminal. Let me zoom in a bit. And we're going to run an IPA. And here you can see that with NAT, I have been assigned an IP address automatically, okay? But if I were to create a LAN segment, that wouldn't happen. But we'll go over that here later. So now that we have an IP address connected to NAT, we're able to ping and access external resources, right? Like I can ping google.com, for example. Okay, so we need that because we need to apt install our ISC DHCP server. This is going to be the service that's going to assign a static IP to our target machine, our matrix machine. Okay, so now that our DHCP server has been installed, we don't need access to the internet anymore. So we want to make sure that our attacker machine and our victim machine are completely isolated. So over here, I'm going to right click on the tab and I'm going to select settings, and we're going to switch the network adapter from NAT to LAN segment. Now, if you try to click OK, you get an error. It says, please specify a LAN segment. So we click here on LAN segments, we select add, and we will name this Pen Test Lab. Click OK on that, and make sure to select it from the drop-down menu. Click OK. Let's run an IPA. Oh, looks like it actually just applied. Network has been disconnected. So if we run an IPA, notice that ETH0 is no longer 192.168.138.128. It has no IP address, right? Now we have created this network adapter to be only for our LAN segment. That means we need to assign manually a static IP address, and then we can also use this network adapter to listen as the DHCP server. So over here, I have a script that we're going to run, and I'm going to put it in the description as well, but be sure to follow along with the video first before you go running that script, okay? So we see here we're going to assign a static IP for our Kali interface here. Notice that that's for ETH0. So if your interface is named differently, make sure you go change it here. Then we set up the config for the DHCP server. We specify the interface to listen for our DHCP server, and then we go ahead and restart that service. Let me go ahead and exit out. And we're going to run a sudo bash on DHCP setup. Now you won't get anything returned, right? But notice now on your IPA, you now have a static IP of 1.1. Now I notice in the corner here, it's still spinning, which has me a little bit concerned. Let me run IPA again. I don't like that this is spinning over here. So a little bit of live troubleshooting. I'm going to disconnect from there. Let me run that bash script again. All right, now we don't have that spinning. I feel more certain that nothing's going to go wrong now. Okay, now that we have our IP set, we cannot ping the outside world. We cannot ping my host machine. And if you do an nmap scan on our current subnet, you will see that our machine, our Kali machine, is the only host that is up. Scan 256 possible addresses, only one host is up, okay? Now also notice after running that script that the status of our DHCP server is active. So now the service is ready to assign static IPs. Now that we have that all prepared, let's come back into the Home tab. Let's open a virtual machine, come into our desktop, VulnHub, Machine Matrix, and there's only one file available for you to select. I'm going to name this Matrix 1. And to keep everything close by, I'm going to put it in the same location of VulnHub Machine Matrix. Click OK and select Import. Okay, now before you start it, come here to Edit Virtual Machine Settings. Notice that on your network adapter, it is set to Bridged. Okay, this means it can connect directly to the physical network, which we don't want to do. So instead, we're going to select down to LAN segment. Be sure to select your Pen Test Lab. Click OK. And now that we see we're on LAN segment, we can go ahead and power on the machine. Let it boot up on its own, and it is starting up. All right, so the machine is online. Don't interact here, right? We would not have physical access at the machine if we were to be doing a real pen test. Well, not in most cases. So we would come back to our Kali machine, and we're going to be interacting with the matrix machine from here. So if we run the nmap scan again on our subnet, notice that this time, instead of having one host online, we have two hosts up. Our 1.1 is us, and our 103, and the 103 is the matrix machine. So let's go ahead and scan the matrix machine, right? So let's do a 192.168.1, 103. And here we see, after doing a port scan on our matrix machine, that there's three attack vectors. We have port 22, port 80, and port 31337. So this is where you're basically free to go figure out how to get root access and read the flag. I've already done that, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but I want to give you at least a little bit of a walkthrough so that you can start following the white rabbit. So we see here port 22, we would have to know the username and the password to be able to log in. So we don't have any clues, we don't have any recon. The only possible way we could figure it out at this point would be brute forcing. And that's pretty time consuming, right? Especially if it gets into like 8+ character passwords, it could take a really long time. So let's check out another place where there might be some low hanging fruit. Here we see there is an HTTP server. We interact with those usually on web browsers. So let's go ahead and pop open our Firefox browser. And by default, your browser will try to connect to either port 80 or port 443. So we will go ahead and put in the address of 192.168.103, the IP address of our Matrix machine, and check it out. This is the response from our web server on the Matrix machine. Follow the white rabbit. Welcome to the real world, Neo. I'm glad you're here. All right.
Now what?
Right? That's kind of how it feels. Get used to that feeling, that now what? Like, what do I do next? Get used to that feeling, dude. I'm telling you, like, it ain't going to go away. You just have to be able to be like, I'm going to get root. I'm going to find a way to get root. So there's a clue here. The clue is to follow the white rabbit. And here's the white rabbit, but you can't click on it. Let me give you a little trick. You can right click on the site and click inspect. You can also use a Control-Shift-I on your keyboard if you want to be fancy with it, okay? So notice that you can just like walk through like this and you can find which tag belongs to which element on the page. Another way you can do it is you click this arrow right here, and then you can very easy with your mouse just highlight different items on the page to see where it lands within the HTML source code. So here we see that there's the white rabbit. Check it out. It's this image tag right here. Source is equal to assets image port 31337. We also saw port 31337 on our Nmap scan. So what we'll try to do is we'll come over. Now remember, this page here is running on port 80. So if I simply put 80, it just takes me back here, right? But what if I were to do instead the 31337? And here we see another clue. Cipher.
You know, I know this steak doesn't exist. I know when I put it in my mouth, the Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. And after 9 years, you know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss.
Okay. So now what, right? Yeah, I feel you. I'm going to give you one more. And then everything's going to be all you from here on out, okay? So let's follow the same technique, right? We did an inspect, and notice you can scroll in through like this little window here. You can obviously pull this down and search. But if you want to see all of it at once, you can simply right click on the page and select view page source. And here is all the HTML that's being used to render this page on the browser. Now you don't know what you're looking for, right? You're just looking for anything that might stand out to you. And the thing that stood out to me when I came here was there's this random string here. I recognize that this is a base 64 encoded string. And the real giveaway for me was the equal sign here at the end. So let me go ahead and copy this. And I will come into a terminal. I will echo that base 64 encoded string. And I will pipe it into base 64 decode. And there you see, echo. Then you'll see it is not the spoon that bends. It is only yourself. So we can go through the whole thing, but I'm telling you, I had so much fun with this VM. But if you're looking to really up your level, up your skills, and become the top tier cybersecurity IT ethical hacker dude that you want to be, subscribe to the channel and be sure to tell all your friends. Be sure to like, comment, and share, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.